All right, so we have the recording on. Can you guys hear us okay? So, Mike's and everything, okay. All right, well, good morning. This is the first face-to-face meeting for the 2022 season. Again, our process is going to be face-to-face meetings. We'll get back on track after the board of director meetings. Kind of did a hit or miss with those last year, and then we didn't really do them in 2020 because of COVID. We tried to do them online. So this is the year to get back to what we used to do on a regular basis. So again, some process procedures. I'll kind of go over highlights from the agenda of the board meeting last night. There are some board meeting agendas that are up there if you want to take one if you weren't here last night. We'll go through those. I do have some online questions from the members that we'll read through. We have some answers to those, and then we'll open it up for any additional questions. All right, sound like the plan? All right. And we definitely have better weather today than we had last night.
I said to Kevin, is it ever gonna stop raining?
I know it. So from the board meeting last night, we reviewed new members. We had about 41 new members that came into the park between December and March. We are seeing a shift in the demographics. The majority of those members are 20s, 30s, 40s. The ones that are selling, we're starting to see are the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And, the park is changing. We're starting to see a lot of the members be more of the working remote or weekend, what we call weekenders, coming in like a Thursday through Sunday and heading out. Notes were approved from December. There's a typo on the finance section. Reminder, we reviewed the November 2021 through March 2022 financials for Sandy Pines and Lake Monterey Golf Course. Those were approved. Ellen made some comments welcoming everybody back to the park. And then some of the things that I had on the agenda for our membership to start thinking about. We have some decisions that, the board and myself are going to be working through this season. And some of those decisions are high dollar ones that, we need to start taking a look at. We talked about phase 1, South Shore building, replacing that pavilion. In the capital budget, if you remember, we have earmarked monies for updating the phase 1 pavilion. Item number 2 on there is a phase 2 pool. We have monies earmarked in the phase 2 or around the area here for pools. But when we started to gather information on that and estimated costs, 2017 dollars are not 2022 dollars. So to give you an idea, in the capital budget, we have about $500,000 earmarked for, it says specifically in there, a phase 2 pool. $500,000 is not going to cover a phase 2 pool. That today's dollars, depending on the size that you want, the costs are coming in anywhere from 1 million to 1.7. So the dollars are not, they're not there. Same for the South Shore building. That pavilion is, it is usable, but the roof is significantly, it's in poor condition. It's leaking. It looks like a bunch of Pizza Hut roofs put together. Costs on those are coming in about $350,000 to fix that, just the roof on the pavilion. That doesn't include, once you tear that off, getting it up to code for electrical and HVAC. If we use the costs for a building like this, HVAC and electrical is about $300,000 additional. So do we want to spend money on a phase 1 pavilion that is not really being utilized. Everybody wants to use this. Now that this is, the board meetings have moved here, some of the, other activities have been moved here. There was some conversation last night during the, from member comments as to, hey, when I guess the building that was here with the Onion senior adult activity, we lost some of the shuffleboard and we lost some of the senior adult activity stuff. We're trying to, one, put some activities back in that South Shore building, and two, specifically for adults, we're looking at other areas because FEMA will not allow us to put additional, camp pool tables in here, shuffleboards, things of that nature, because it takes away from the spacing of human lives that you could use to pack the building in case of an emergency. So we're working on some of those things. Spectrum Internet came in during our off season and basically said our current status today, which is coaxial cable, and how we do our modems, which is extremely inefficient. They only allocate X amount of modems to Sandy Pines, and every year we beg for more and more and more. They're stopping that process at the end of the season. So our options with Spectrum, and they provided a proposal to us. We'll review it with the board during our budgeting process that starts next week, or I'm sorry, next month. Right now, there's an assessment for coaxial cable. Cable's going away. They're no longer going to service cable. It's all going to go to streaming TV. And in order to do streaming TV, they got to bump up the Wi-Fi in the park, which means infrastructure that they're going to have to spend. Their proposal right now, which is either just being candid, take it or leave it, is they start doing infrastructure updates in the park this off season, this fall. It'll take them 90 to 120 days to lay the fiber optic cable down throughout the park, and start getting the Wi-Fi ramped up. No option. Everybody is going to get streaming and everybody's going to get Wi-Fi. They're not going to do the, all right, this site one modem and site 10 doesn't. So basically the cable assessment would be going away, a new assessment, because we'd have to sign up to a 5-year contract in order for them to get their payback out of the infrastructure. Yes.
Go ahead.
So that would be to everyone in the park except just like the select few who decide to do what we want, like the year.
Nope,
Everybody would get it.
everybody gets it. Yep, it's their business case and proposal is based on 2,162 sites.
So the cable that's there now, the orange cable that services every site, that's coaxial, that's not fiber.
My understanding is it's coaxial now.
And their proposal is that on top of that orange cable that just went in, 4 or 5 years ago, recently to every site is going to be replaced. Because you still have to get the internet into the
Yes.
trailer somehow.
Yep, their proposal is they're gonna lay fiber optics, updated fiber optics throughout the park. And then like every 6 trailers, you're gonna have new nodes up. And then those, every 6 trailers will be specific to one node. You'll all connect to that. So their proposal is they're gonna completely redo everything out here. So,
Well, it's kind of a bit ridiculous to me. They still stream cable. Cities.
well, the cities, yes, but when you look around the surrounding area, I know we have employees that are local that, used to live off of 137. They couldn't get, they couldn't get Wi-Fi. They couldn't get a lot of that stuff because, again, the good news about Sandy Pines is we're in a beautiful, unique spot, kind of hidden. The bad news about Sandy Pines is we're kind of in a unique spot, kind of hidden. And the only name in the game right now is, even if we brought somebody else in to try and tap into some of the infrastructure here, that infrastructure is owned by Charter. So they've kind of got us a little bit. We're going to work through some of those details with the board. We're still going back and forth on some pricing scenarios with them. But again, because their position is take it or leave it, this would be opened up to, this would have to go to a vote, it would be an assessment. So the members would have to vote on this. The downfall is if it doesn't pass, Spectrum will walk away and say we're not servicing you.
Jeff,
So-
in the number of members, does that include the condo people?
Good question. I believe it does. And the condos, may be in a little unique situation. We are still negotiating and discussing with Spectrum. The condos, technically, they could get a residential package, and completely get out of, the Sandy Pines package. But their cost would be going up significantly. So,
Well, condo are more likely to be full year, so maybe it'd be advantageous for them to have a better service or what they wanted rather than
that. it's
a
good
seasonal
point.
people.
Well, good point. One of the other things that Spectrum has thrown on to us is, we continually get calls during the off season with, some of the members. So how the current process works is what we have is supposed to be a seasonal package. And Spectrum is supposed to be shutting off the modems and during the season, or during the off season, excuse me. We've gotten many complaints from Spectrum that, hey, we have members that have cameras hooked up and you guys are still using the Wi-Fi. What's going on? Our response is you're supposed to be shutting it off. So shut it off. So this package, we're not gonna get a 6 month. This is gonna be a 12-month package, whether we're here or not during the off season. And it's gonna be X amount a month for 12 months.
No internet after October 5th.
No, you will get it for 12 months year round. For 5 years, you will get internet, you'll get streaming,
Oh, I
TV,
misunderstood.
everything for 12 months.
We have it down.
It's that deal.
Yeah,
It's a deal.
It's a deal.
It's
right
a
now.
deal.
yeah. So again, we do have some rough pricing. I don't want to start communicating that now because we gotta get that in front of the board and go through the budgeting process, but it is gonna be something that, again, it's gonna have to go to a vote for an assessment. It's probably where we're gonna have to, so.
But it's still gonna be affordable compared to like you know what you pay at home,
Exactly.
okay? So it's still gonna be wait, difference that's now.
Right. Some other things that we need to start thinking about for 2022 is the assessments. So Lake Monterey Golf Course, we're in 7 years of 10. So we've got 3 more years left. We've sat down and met with the golf committee. We've gone through the financials. I think you have some questions on the golf course that we'll get to. We're thinking about dusting that off and getting in front of that sooner rather than later. But that may come to a vote this year as well to extend that. And I'll walk you through the financials on that because we do have some specific questions on that. Sandy Pines Wellness Trails, the capital assessment, we're in year 5 of 10, so we've got 5 more years. But again, back to the comments on the first 2 bullet points. Phase 1 pavilion, we have $300,000 earmarked. It's probably gonna cost $600 to get that thing updated. And when you look at a phase 2 pool, we have about $500,000 earmarked between 1 and 1.7.
That's an outdoor pool, right?
That would be an
Yeah.
outdoor pool, yes. We talked about the lake committee recommendation and rules update. So, we do have, if you go to, I believe the board of directors and, you can submit questions there. There should be some information there. And then Ian launched the new website kind of silently, trying to get some feedback from the members. I think it looks really nice. It's more easily navigatable. You can go to the blog section and he's got all of the information for voting. the Lake Study Committee received input from, they did a study in Minnesota on multiple lakes there on wakeboarding, wake surfing, large boats, things of that nature. And then there's some links down there that you can read the actual study if you have time or you want to fall asleep quickly. And then there's some frequently asked questions there as well. They kind of highlight some of the findings that they have there. If you remember last year, this time, we had a meeting in March of 2021. We voted for a temporary ban on that. The decision coming out of the board last night was we're gonna stay that ban for at least this month. The Lake Study Committee is getting some additional wording on their proposal, and then we'll revisit that resolution next month. So right now, it's still as written, which is a ballast ban for the lake until we come into May and have some decisions on that. Cart Bridge. Cart Bridge is up. So we've got some questions on that as far as, hey, are we gonna paint it? Why does it look so rusty? When it's gonna be open operationally? All really good questions. So we're I want to say 2 weeks behind schedule. Like anybody else, we're running into some supply chain challenges. The concrete deck was poured Thursday when it was nice and sunny out. So the decking is poured. The weathering steel is what we went with versus a painted bridge. Weathering steel over the next 3 to 6 months will actually weather that bridge, and that's the finish, is the environment. And it'll actually, as it does that rust look, it'll help structurally solidify that bridge. And then ultimately it'll come into like a rusty brownish with some black in it. It'll look rustic. We're in the woods, so it'll.
Called patina.
Yes, yes. It'll look really nice after the environment does its thing on the steel. If we were to paint that, which were some of the questions on the website. One, it would have been painted at the manufacturer. It would have added 35% to the cost. Two, if you paint it, we have to have a maintenance agreement with the county. If we paint it, that maintenance agreement almost doubles because of repainting that bridge. So from a cost perspective, it didn't make sense to have it painted. Again, the MDOT specific recommendation and Allegan County Road Commission recommendation was, if you look at the bridges they're putting in now, they're doing the weather seal. It's more cost effective and it looks nicer. The other comments that we had last season was, hey, that's a lot of money. Why don't you wait and see if the prices go down? I don't know if anybody's seen what's going on with inflation, but we did get some costs on just the steel and labor. If we would have waited, that would have been anywhere from a 22% increase to a 25% increase in steel and labor on that bridge. So if we would have waited, I know it's a lot of money. It was a lot of discussion last year, but I think it's looking nice. It's still protecting our members. It's still the right thing to do. We had some questions about, hey, what about runoff? Because if you look at the phase 3 side, those abutments are a little steeper than phase 6. We've got some, it's feathered in a little bit more, and it's more of an approach in phase 6. As they build those abutments, you'll see the sand there. That's kind of the structure holding that ramp up. And then we're packing it. Some of you might have seen in phase 6, some dirt missing. Yeah. So we've utilized some of that berm, that mound back there. That's going to get packed on the side. And then you'll see the netting after bridge work is done when you see on highways. That'll go over it. Then we'll start seeding it. This is the best time to seed it, which is in the spring. And runoff is, I want to say, not a huge concern, but you may see some runoff until we start getting that seed to take place in there, because that seat will hold the structure of those ramps as you come up on the, specifically the phase 3 side. Again, our constraint right now is whether, depending on what side you're coming off of, phase 6 or phase 3, the first 120 feet are gonna have a guardrail. And then it'll start to feather down into the flat area. And then we'll have some fencing from right at the bridge, down off of the concrete abutments and then attaching to the fencing that's there in phase 3 and phase 6. So there's not gonna be a walk path in between there. The way to get into phase 3 and phase 6 is gonna be that bridge or your vehicle. Some of the other things that we talked about is we're still working on lighting and members over in the phase 3 area about getting some updates on that, input on that. Going to tweak it a little bit. About signage on that. So, we're gonna put the Jenny Hager Bridge.
Who wants to be the most?
Ian in communications is gonna kick off, similar to what we did with the train, kind of like name the bridge contest. And then we do have, the option to put some signage on there, Monterey Bridge or Sandy Pine, we can put some signage up there. So that's.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to promote my own name for that bridge. Phase 3 was once known as Monterey Bay. We could name it Monterey Bay Bridge or just simply Bay Bridge.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. I think, somebody else brought that up last night and talking after the board meeting. So I think, again, that predates me. So I think you might see some people wanting that name.
Another question. You're saying you're going to close off to phase 3, but are you going to leave a hole open for the corn wagon?
There will be, we're still talking about that, Larry. We're thinking of putting, and again, I don't visit the corn wagon, but the discussion is, I don't like corn. The discussion.
Best part.
The discussion is putting it over on Turtle Drive there, and then using maybe the chapel entrance for buses and things of that nature, for people to go and access the corn wagon there. So I'll be honest with you, I don't have a real good answer on corn wagon yet. We might move the corn wagon over to that area where the buses would come in. So.
Where are the buses going to come?
They will, so if you've been watching the construction, Turtle Drive.
Yeah.
Where that fence is.
Yeah.
We still have that old tarred path.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna dust that, we're gonna clean that up, see how far that can go in, and there's gonna be a gate there. So, and we've already talked to Chapel about, hey, here's how buses can come in and out. If you pull out of there to get back into the main traffic, there's still plenty of visible, you can see the road. The bridge isn't gonna be a hindrance, to pull out into oncoming traffic, to turn left if you need to, or go right into oncoming traffic. So there's still gonna be some space there. We still need, even if, we still need an entrance for,
Sundays.
well, Sundays and,
Emergency vehicles.
from emergency vehicle standpoints and maintenance standpoint.
Absolutely.
I had one member ask, well, what kind of high maintenance equipment do you need? And I'm like, well, there's a giant red crane sitting there.
Yes.
So if we go with any of these projects, those maintenance trucks, dump trucks, cranes, things of that nature, that's the entrance that they still need to get into the park. So it will be there. Robin, you had a question?
I know where that is, I know where the corn wagon was, and you used to have a golf cart path that used to go that way. My only concern in leaving a small golf cart path is people. It'll just be a man gate, so people can just go in and out, like if you parked your golf cart there, it's just
Yeah,
4 foot wide, so I can't get a golf cart through. My main concern is we just put that bridge up,
right.
not to have golf carts cross that road.
It's gonna be foot traffic. Yes, yes. Any other, while we're on the bridge, any other comments or questions on the bridge?
Doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, appreciate it. Software update. So we launched the new member management software update. Thank you for your patience on that through the portal process. Again, the plan was, here's how we're gonna launch this, and then right in the middle of that plan came the renewal process. So we made a decision to say, our options were do renewals in the old system, and now you gotta work out of two systems, or do we try and do it in the new system? We chose to do in the new system, which added some work and some additional road bumps. We apologize for that, but I think we're getting there. Your member web access should be popping up. If you log into their questions on online payments, guest passes, things of that nature, online payments should be available, I want to say next week. If you want to do online payments and guest passes, we're still working with security. The challenge with guest passes right now is if you go to the main gate and the phase 3 gate, you'll see these white boxes there. Steve has been working hard on when campers or members put something like a guest pass into the system, it's almost like a parking ticket. So now you come up and you get you'll get a QR code when you get an acceptance. You scan that QR code and out comes your guest pass out of that, and then you throw that out the window. So it takes away from the labor at the gates of passes back and forth. We're not quite there yet. We have some pretty critical meetings over the next week or two to get that resolved. So if you need a guest pass, we're still sending you to public safety. They're manually entering it for you. You'll see it on your account, and then your guests can still pop in and pick them up at the gates. So stay tuned on that.
Hey, Jeff, excuse me, is that gonna be also for campers?
TBD. So the short answer is yes, because Drew, you've worked there. How many campers have you had backed up at the main gate, right?
That thought went through my mind, so you said, put up their QR code.
Right. We can direct them because there's gonna be, the majority of our campsites are phase 3, right? We can direct them to phase 3. You skew that, you scan that QR code, and then out comes your pass to get into the park. The plan is to alleviate all that backup labor. Guest passes with public safety and that traffic.
Jerry, we won't know until we try to implement it, but that process alone for a brand new visitor, I can see.
Yep. Well, and then the other thing is, what we see, and I would say over the last couple of years, is we really haven't manned that phase 3 gate. I can tell you, we did hire somebody last week, and their sole purpose is to be at phase 3. So I'll have somebody there. Point of sale. So right now, we were looking at changing the point of sale system. We peeled back on that. We've got so many new changes going on right now that we're evaluating that in the off season. The one that we selected, we think is still the right option. But to do a member management change, all the other projects that we've been doing, and then throw a point of sale on the team to try and learn all that at the same time, we're gonna peel back on that. So let's see. New business, old business, we talked about new business. We're back to face. Excuse me. We passed a resolution for Larry at the golf course to sign off on $1,000 or less to sign off on vendors and things of that nature. So that one passed, and then we're entertaining a bylaw change. If you look at the bylaws, when we pass resolutions, the current bylaws state they don't take effect until the newsletter, which is the footprint, is, mailed. And, we're planning on updating that, putting that out electronic out. How do we peel that into, pull that into, the 2022 realm of emails, websites and things of that nature. So we've got a couple of recommendations that we'll be reviewing with the board, and that will go on the ballot this fall or this summer. And it's just a cleanup to move that bylaw into make it more up to date.
Modernizing the verbiage, basically.
Yep, modernizing the verbiage. And that's about it. So we made we're taking member comments at the board. That's another agenda item that I missed out on putting on the agenda, so I apologize for that. But the Q&A sessions, we're moving to the face-to-face. So, did I miss anything, Jenny? Let's do this, because I've talked way too much, right? Thanks, Robin. So let's throw it out for you guys, any comments that you have out there, and then I can actually, if they're on this list from the board of directors that was submitted online, I can cross it off. So open it up.
Go through my mail-in questions first, because I do have a 10 o'clock.
Yep. So, no, that's fine. So you were,
Yeah, Bill Easto.
yep. So your questions were in regards to the golf course, correct?
There were three, so you had on the, so one was the golf course, you answered that, it's 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Also indicated you were gonna possibly put something on the ballot this year.
Yeah, so the thought process on that is, why would we wait until the last year? And if it gets voted down, then we're kind of stuck. So, there's
I mean, but the golf course actually needs that money to operate.
absolutely, have you looked at the financials?
Don't want the golf course anymore.
Then if we get rid of the golf course, then your property values go down.
Okay, so if that's the case, what would it take to put to a member? Say, no,
I don't think, I don't know, I've never had that question asked, but just logically,
logically, we're putting money in a sinking ship. Fine.
I would disagree with you, because again, we're now starting to see property, and we were talking about this with some of the members in the boards last night on some of the sales. The property values here at Sandy Pines have increased in value a lot when you take a look at all the things that we provide to members, golf course, pools, things of that nature. You put that up for sale, short term, you might get some money. Long term, who you're going to get is your neighbor. That would go as a development more than likely, because we're seeing developments pop up around here. And now you're going to see homes and condos butting up against the Sandy Pines property. So,
Well, how come that golf course can't be at least break even?
so again, I would,
I mean, it's been 15 years since we purchased it, so I was here when we thought. 15 years, we paid for it, so Sandy Pines owns all that land. Sure, they own the golf course, correct? Free and clear.
not free and clear. I mean, there's
How
still,
can that be?
well, there's still a note that goes on with the, there's, from what I understand, again, this was prior to me. There's two notes that Sandy Pines had to front the money. Lake Monterey is a separate entity, right? So those financials and everything is separate from Sandy Pines to Lake Monterey. Lake Monterey still owes Sandy Pines money. Again, I encourage you to look at the financials. At a high level, that golf course gross profit is about $600,000. The assessments cover $300,000 of that. The expenses are about $550 to $600,000. So if you take the assessments away, you're at a $300,000 negative. If you want to make that up with member fees, the
Why
member,
don't you just charge more fee?
okay, good question. So the surrounding, you know what the rates are for the surrounding area around here?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay, so have you, what are the rates at Diamond Springs?
Depends when you go, but for a senior, you can get a good deal for 2025.
No.
No, senior golf rates at Diamond Springs are $43 a round.
I'd be.
It's 43, I got it right here, it's $43 a
That's
round.
fine.
So if
You're not gonna command 40.
well, so that's my point, is our members are not gonna pay $40 for that golf course. Right now, they pay $10. Even if you do the math on that, you need about.
In addition to paying the $10, they're also paying the assessment every year. So they're
Right.
paying for $10.
Which is
So-
only $125.
Which is only $125. Yep. But again, I encourage you, one, to look at the financials because it can't stand on its own without an assessment. And if you move that out, we've had this conversation with the golf committee. If you move that out, just do some straight math to make that break even because you lose the assessment, which is about $325,000. It's $270. And then there's an additional $50,000 that we move out of that assessment into capital for tractors and machines and things of that nature to run it. So if you do high level math, 325, you need about 10,000 rounds of golf at $32 a round to come back with that. The best rounds that we've had that I'm aware of at Lake Monterey is about 7,000 rounds.
I'm just saying, at the time, the members voted assessment at the beginning, they all felt when they gave that initial 5-year assessment. Just like when we did the pool project here, that would purchase the golf course, so we should be free and clear with the golf course operates. And so, but it's been 15 freaking years, and you're saying we don't even own the golf course yet.
What I'm saying is Sandy Pines fronted the money. Sandy Pines does own the golf course, but
Okay.
again, it's a separate entity. Lake Monterey still has to funnel that money back because from what I understand, that money came from somewhere, right? And they've got to pay that back. Lake Monterey has to pay that
They've
back.
been paying about
Remember,
$75,000.
They never make enough money. So they
Yeah,
lose
may I
money.
make a comment about the golf course?
Sure, go ahead.
I think it's a fantastic asset to Sandy Pines. For the money you pay, if you would go other places, in this rural area, if they charge $45 at Diamond Springs,
I would put that in Springs.
that's a lot of money. I wouldn't. It's a fantastic, especially if you have grandkids, you want to take them golfing. So wonderful place. This is a fantastic asset. I would be very much opposed to unloading that golf course. It's a draw for many people.
I'm just saying, what does it take to put it to a member?
Well, it's the assessment, right? So
No, I mean, a member vote to, let me just put on the ballot to members want to keep the golf course forever. I mean, unless you can project when the members finally break even. You can't project that the members ever break even, paying this forever. And I think it's fair to put it on, ballot to say, well, you want to pay the next 20 years, or you just want to sell it and use the money for something better. So,
Well, that's in
no, you
effect
asked
what
the
that
question.
vote
I said,
would be.
what's
If the vote, if the assessment gets voted down.
Yeah.
Then the golf course would not be sustainable.
that,
So in effect, that is what the vote would be. If we vote to extend them, if we have a vote to
It's
extend.
never been obvious. It's never been obvious to any member that. Why is it?
Well, if you
Make an
could-
assessment, just make a part.
If you would look at the financial statements, though, like Jeff said, or come to meetings or listen to what we have been saying for years and years, the golf course does not sustain itself. We have never said that it
I never
does.
said you did. I'm saying
Well,
after
that is
15
what-
years, maybe we should get rid of it. It
Well-
doesn't sustain
Right.
itself.
right, yeah.
Something, I gotta say one thing, it's not 15, we're in year 7 of an initial 10-year assessment.
No, the golf course, they way before, but this is like the fourth assessment.
This to me,
Yeah,
No,
not that I'm aware
period,
of.
correct.
Well, I've been here for 20 years.
you haven't been paying $125 for 20 years.
No.
We're in
as soon as
year
they bought the
7.
golf course, that golf course originally was not owned by.
7 years ago.
No. 7.
I'm wrong?
No, you're not. So the assessment was voted on 7 years ago. It's a 10-year assessment. Back to answer your question, and then we'll move on, is the assessment would be up for a vote. We're talking about pulling it ahead to get in front of it, because right now it's just an extension. It could get voted down now. It could get voted down next year. It could get voted down in the last year. Once it's voted down, then we're gonna see how it's gonna be sustainable. And then we go from there. Robin, you had a question?
I just wanted to say $125 to have an additional perk. That's what I pay for every single year. I don't know. But I don't pay the $125 for the flat $125. I spend $125 on a lot more stuff. You have a question about?
Okay, let's see, when will the Sandy Pines website get fixed so I can submit online payments? Was the process tested before implemented?
Did you have a question, my question?
Oh, okay,
No, I have.
I thought- yep, go ahead. What are your other questions?
Oh, okay, so the one you also had on the board about the reserve, capital reserve fund possibly being, so when's the capital reserve fund due for renewal?
Again, we talked about this last night. We're in year 5. So we've got 5 more years.
So why was it on the agenda about assessment extensions?
So again, if you read the topic, it says something to think about. We're just starting to make these comments that some of these assessments are coming towards the end of the years, and we're gonna start making some plans to get these in front of the members and start taking the next steps. So is it gonna be on the ballot this year? Probably not. Do we need to start starting to communicate it? It doesn't hurt to start communicating. If you communicate at the last minute, you're already behind the 8 ball.
Does that include both the capital and the capital reserve?
That assessment, from what I understand, is just capital reserve.
Yeah,
Well,
there's a $200 capital that's never ending to my knowledge.
Right.
that came in vote at the same time for capital reserve.
No, that was
No.
before.
Yeah,
That was already in existence.
Yeah.
When we voted on the 10-year capital reserve, that was a new assessment and it was for 10 years. Yeah, Bob.
Capital,
Pardon?
when did the capital?
That 200,
Yeah.
I am not sure on that. That's been in existence for years, but,
No, it was always part of the.
right, but it's not part of your dues, it's an assessed item. That much goes into the capital reserve.
That got voted on at the same time as.
No,
No.
it did not.
No.
Larry, you got a comment?
Yes, being a long-term resident, I remember the time when we voted on individual assessments. If they needed $37 from every member to buy new vehicles or fix something, we'd have to vote on that particular item, and there may be 10 items that we voted on, and some would get passed and some would not. And so the original $200 was a solution that we'd automatically increase the dues with a capital assessment of $200 to cover all these monies for capital improvements to fix buildings and et cetera. We need so much money, and it's either take it out of the dues and move it to capital, or as we did, we approved a $200 assessment to cover all the capital costs.
I remember that. Correct. Reserve was 7.
So again, the agenda item that we talked about last night and that's on the agenda is specifically the capital reserve that is up in 5 years. Start thinking about next steps on that.
So basically what happened, ever since it got voted, members have had opinion on major addition capital. Capital fund and capital reserve fund is supposed to be maintenance of the park. And the members don't need to vote on that. Agree. But what the money's being used for, is capital. That the members used to have a vote on. I mean, talking $1 million project, $3 million project. Members are not getting a vote on how their money is being spent. I mean, I understand $30,000, $500,000, $200,000, but when you're up into the millions of dollars, we should be getting a vote. It's their money.
So a couple of comments on that. One, again, I've only been here 3 years, but in looking back, I don't know of any $5 million projects. I don't know of any $3 million projects.
How much was this?
This building, it cost Sandy Pines about $2 million.
How much was it?
Okay, so that's
Phase
not 5 and that's not 3. The CCs.
three. Okay, two.
Okay,
That's a substantial.
right, so I'm not gonna argue semantics with you,
Okay.
but
How much was the bridge?
will you let me answer the question?
Okay, yes.
Thank you. So the members have a vote on that capital reserve. When you look,
They are.
let me answer the question, please. Thank you. The member, if you look at that bylaw, you look at the resolution, or not bylaw, you look at the resolution, when that was passed, because we had this conversation last year when the bridge came up. When I started, we had the conversation about this FEMA building. I had to go back and dig into the actual resolution. The resolution states that part of the process is through the budgeting process. So the members, they voted to add $200 every year to put in a pot for capital. And out of that $200 over 10 years, the board goes through the budgeting process, looks at, here's what was estimated to use those funds, and those funds could change periodically based on the needs. So the members had a vote on what they're putting in, because you have a capital expenditure list of projects.
Maintenance, not new projects.
So what would you call it? What would you call a pool? A pool's on there. That's not maintenance. That's a new capital project.
Pool got, the pool there got no stuff assessment.
My point is that list from 2017, and I've reviewed the list, is not just maintenance. There's amenities on there. There's maintenance. There's.
When you ask the members, do they want to put a new indoor pool here? You didn't ask the members, but they want to brand new building here.
I can't answer that. That was before my time. So
I'm just saying.
So I think, again, I think this.
Reserve was approved. The members have had no say in taking projects.
I would disagree with that, but here's.
You never put to a member vote.
I'm telling you that the use of the funds was put to a member vote on that resolution, and that resolution was earmarked for specific projects. So-
Members never knew what the.
I would disagree with you because that list was circulated. So we're gonna move on from this one. And I think, again, that's one of the, let me finish.
One more question.
Let me finish. Thank you. So I think I think part of the reason we had these items on the agenda was start to get in front of the members with South Shore building over here, phase 2 pool. I know in the South Shore building, there's an attached outdoor pool. We're gonna start getting in front of the members on that. And again, in that project that some people say they've never seen, there's lists of amenities for a pool, and that money is earmarked at $500,000. It's gonna be 1 to 1.7. So would it show up on a ballot? Probably, because we're gonna either have to extend capital reserve later, or we're gonna have to pay an additional $500,000 to $700,000 that's not in the budget right now. So I think we're getting to the end where I think your rub is at, where members aren't getting a say in some stuff. I think you're gonna see, I think you're gonna start seeing some of this pop up because the say you had in 2017 with 2017 dollars can't pay for projects in 2022. So we've got to get it in front of members and you'll probably see it on the ballot.
Can there be something put on the ballot for a maximum amount of work and spend without? That's what I'm-
It's already in our bylaw.
It's already in the bylaws.
What's that number?
It's 2.5% of the operating budget. Unless it's voted on by the members, and that's where the capital budget came from, the capital reserve fund.
You're excluding it from.
Or if it's deemed emergency.
Yeah.
No, we're not. Again, I would encourage you to go through the financials, look at how things are categorized, go through the budgets that we've kind of circulated. And I encourage you to do a deep dive in the financials because some of your questions I think could be answered in the financials. And we're gonna move on. So Rob, you got a question?
Just a quick one. I know that you guys asked for members' opinions when you were putting up this building. You asked if you wanted it to have, I don't know, a place where you could rent. I know that that was out there. I filled out some sort of survey.
Yep.
So I know that you did ask and then you did come back and propose this, this, and this, and we had to choose on that kind of stuff as well. So I just know that there was something that I did fill out.
Agreed. And.
So I did have input on what was.
Thank you. And again,
Put the building up.
I would disagree with you. So we're gonna move on from that. So, we do have marketing and communications. Whenever we do have some major things pop up, they will submit surveys out there. We'll submit surveys anywhere from rec ideas to the pool committee sent out 2 or 3 surveys over the last couple of years. You want an indoor pool, you want an outdoor pool, where do you want the location, things of that nature. So good point. Thank you. Yes,
2 quick questions.
sure.
By the CC in phase 6, the dirt mounds, are we making additional parking there?
Where,
We're right in front of our.
right in front of your house.
Yeah.
Yes, that one. Yeah. So, yes. So, again, some of the comments towards the end of the season, last season was, overflow parking and, things of that nature. We don't have enough. And then just going around into phase 6, you see the trucks parking up. We're flattening that berm out and it's gonna be,
Still stay grass?
it will stay grass.
It
Yes,
won't
sir.
be as high, or it will be as high, because it is a nice barrier from.
So we're trying to, yes, good question. So we're trying to manage that. So if you look in that area, you've got the berms and then you got the berm by the road. We're not touching the berm by the road. No. We're trying to flatten that out and add some parking there.
Second question is, do with lake study with the ballast. Have we thought about putting restrictions on sizes of pontoon boats? We have a restriction of 20-foot speedboats because they go fast, maneuverability. Pontoons, back when that rule was written, had like a 60 horsepower. Now you're getting pontoons with 450s, twin motors. This lake really doesn't need a twin motor pontoon.
Right.
Is there any thought with the lake study or lake committee of kind of restricting some of that?
We have talked about some of those items. The thing that we look at when we get into and I'm not a boat, so I'll probably say something incorrect, but the things that we're getting into on the different types of boats right now is plowing, how long it takes to get up on a plane. The feedback that the lake study committee is providing is from a pontoon standpoint, they can get to plane quicker. So they're not really tearing up the bottom. Now, twin boats or twin motors is a good point. We can add that to a review for the committee and say, hey, because I know they're looking at the wake surfing, wakeboarding, ballast. If you go out and read some of those links, you know, you've got fins and stuff that's going on underneath. And they're also looking at really the capacity. How many boats do we have on this lake? So,
Well, so back to that,
62 potential.
yeah, so back to that kind of point is, you know, pontoons never used to be considered a speedboat.
right,
But
Now you look at them now,
they could,
and it's more of a speedboat than it is a pontoon.
so we can absolutely have them start looking at that. Yep.
You know,
Well, they discussed it.
Well, because when you see a pontoon out there, and last year, we ran into, you have pontoons, and they have bigger motors than our speedboat does. And they are pulling wake boarders behind it. The difference is when their wake boarder falls off, and they have a 20, let's just say a 22, 24, I don't know how big they are, but some of them are huge. And they try to turn, they cannot turn on a dime. In fact, they are causing near collisions out there because they turn all the way around in order to get them. But the pontoons are not made technically for that, and that's what they're doing. I mean, you have 12 people that you can put on some of these, and they're called, a 24-foot one is a, you Google it, it's called a party barge.
Yep.
So you have a 12 to 13, and when they do start out, they do plow because they have all of their weight in order to get to their fast thing. Even tri-tunes are out there. They plow and then they get up. It takes us in order to get to, I think our speed limit is 30 miles on the lake, which I think is a little fast, super fast. I don't go more than 20, especially if we're on something. It's not, it doesn't take long for us to, a speedboat to get to that. So when you guys say that they're looking at not having that plowing action, does that mean that it would not be, a lake for tubing and skiing?
You know, some of that, so good question, and some of that conversation is, you know, do we eliminate boats? Do we eliminate the action? Do we eliminate the activity? And what I mean by that is, do we eliminate ballast boats, just they're not allowed in the park? Do we eliminate the action, plowing? They all kind of plow. Or do you eliminate the activity? Do you eliminate wake surfing? So if we start eliminating wake surfing, we eliminate skiing. Tubing.
Well, wait,
Those are some of
right.
the things that the Lake Study Committee is starting to, with member input, feedback, starting to think about. And, you know, what is the right thing to preserve the lake? Now, I know if you go on to one of those links in there, because I had a similar question to the Lake Committee, and again, like I said, I'm not a voter, and I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I can't pretend to be a voter, but there is information in there with, even with, number one, you can only have a 24-foot pontoon in here. Number two, if you have a more powerful motor on that pontoon, the way the tunes are, the actual energy and wave displacement, if they do plow, is not as great or forceful or devastating as some of the actual ballast boats. So I know that has been communicated or brought up from the lake committee, but back to your point, Brian, we can have them say, all right, are we comparing these kinds of boats as well as the pontoons that have the larger boats?
I did type that on the same thing. Make it into lake study,
I think we answered your question.
not the one yesterday,
Oh, not the one yesterday morning? Okay.
with the 24-foot pontoon with the 200 to 300 horsepower that we've seen and the twin motors that we've seen on here last year.
Okay.
It's just that type of stuff because I know it's a
you need to
man.
be proactive.
Yeah,
Agreed.
just be proactive
Agreed.
on that. And because if we're limiting, not doing the wake surfing,
You know, all the erosion isn't just from the ballast boats.
Agreed.
Because there's been erosions for years before.
even the ballast boats came
ballast
out,
boats came in.
because there was only like 2 or 3.
There was talk about the island sinking, you know, for the last 5 to 6 years. That's before most of these ballast boats were here.
And now that the ballasts weren't used last year, it's still happening. I mean, I understand that people were trying to do some of that
I'll
stuff.
say one thing that I'm looking forward to this particular summer that we haven't had in the last 4 or 5 summers, is dedicated control of the lake and behavior.
You want it.
Which, but something that's been horrible.
You're trying,
I live-
you
I
are
lived it.
110%.
horribly lacking is enforcement of the current rules.
Yes.
And people get away with whatever they can get away with. And I'm hoping this year Steve will have a good handle on it and have presence on the lake.
Yep.
Maybe that will help a lot of some of the issues that we're going with.
Right.
Yeah.
Because again, when we pass we still have to enforce it.
But you're correct, correct.
So,
Jeff?
okay. Yes, sir.
I have a comment.
Sure.
I'm glad to hear they have all these concerns about pontoons and the boats and the wake surfing. The lake committee is understaffed and we'd love.
Oh, Larry is getting ready to say, because.
Love to have them put in.
Have them repeat it.
Larry, are you back?
You cut out too. Every once in a while you freeze still. I'll say it again. I'm on the lake committee and I like to hear their comments and their energy they're putting out. And we're understaffed in the lake committee and I'd like to see them put in their application to join the committee and bring their ideas to the committee.
So we'll look for your applications. We're about 6 minutes over. Does anybody else have any other questions? Otherwise, I'll quickly read through the online ones. Okay, all right. So I'll read quickly through the online ones. And some of these were already answered. So a member in the condos was asking, I would like to know how concerned should we be about the issue with Spectrum? What is the plan for internet and cable? Should they pull their agreement? We touched on that a little bit already. They've given us an all or nothing at the end of this year. So stay tuned on that. Thank you for that question. Question from phase one, wondering when and if an indoor pool is going to be brought back. The indoor pool was closed just after we were here a short time. This is one of the reasons we bought into Sandy Pines. Our kids are getting older now and we're starting to think about grandkids. Would like to know if this is still being considered and what the timing might be. Thank you for the question on that. We talked about that as well a little bit. The pool committee is evaluating all options, indoor, outdoor attached to a new project at the South Shore, a whole outdoor in phase two. One thing that we didn't touch on, if we were to say go today from a construction standpoint, you're probably looking 2 years out. Based on all the construction projects that are out and about right now. So thank you for that. Good question. Another question. When will Sandy Pines website get fixed so I can submit online payments? Was this process ever tested? I started to answer this question earlier. We did test the website. We were seeing some glitches with the online payments. The online payments, just to be candid, was going to be moved from our current point of sale system to the new point of sale system. And when we said we're not going to go with that new point of sale system, we had to move everything back. So that's what was making it a little bit of a hindrance. But again, your web access, it should be on the portal. You'll start seeing things pop up with online payments. Guest passes should be resolved in the next week to two. So those things will start popping up again, and we'll continue to get in front of it with communication as these things get fixed. We'll abreast to that. Can the lighted golf cart crossing signs at 26th Street be moved to the dump entrance area? I think that's a great idea. I don't know who owns those signs. I don't know if it's Sandy Pines.
Sandy Pines owns them. Allegheny County Road Commission installs them for us. They're about 14.
So I think if we get the green light from Allegheny County to go ahead and pull that up, I think that's a great idea with people crossing at the dump area. So thank you for that question. Will the food trucks be blocking the entrance and parking for North Shore building again this year? Thanks for all your dedication to our park. Phase 6 question. Thank you for that question. We do have food trucks slated for phase 4 here again at the North Shore building. We're trying to get them to accommodate the parking needs. You'll see some of them off to the side. We've had a couple in the grass area. We've tried to move them around into different areas of the park. They get the best traffic here. We've tried to move them over at the flea market phase 2. We've tried them in a couple other spots. This just seems to be the right spot. So we'll just be patient and we'll try to accommodate.
And I will say, his fries are the best I've ever had, but he does park right out.
Yeah.
And we just have
Well,
the other end.
yeah, we'll start spreading it out. The other thing that we'll start seeing is, again, we talked about, I think, somebody brought up a point about events here at North Shore Building. You're gonna start seeing some events pop up. I think we got 3 this year, 1 wedding. And so we're gonna have outside guests coming in the park here. I wanna say that's in June or July. So, we're gonna start roping this area off for parking, for some events. And again, we'll get in front of that as well. So, good question. Phase 4 suggests we offer free golf, no cart, with a stay of 3 days or more on campsites. They would ride with members and get exposed to the park. So I like the idea of exposing campers to all the stuff that we have here. We do have Janelle, who's our camping manager. She was working with Gary before he left to go on a new journey in Wisconsin, and now working with Larry at the golf course. We do have some promotions for campers that we are starting this year. They're not free, but they are at discounted rates to try and get some of the campers to get out to the golf course. Larry's doing some really good activities with lunch specials, food, beverages, things like that. So not quite at the point of offering free golf, but discounted golf. But good question.
Trying to get more of that non-golfers with events and food like that.
Great. Last couple of questions here that I have that have been sent in. One is, again, on guest passes. It's basically they're asking, we feel that the current pricing for guest passes are inequitable for members. Can we get an allowance? The rates of guest passes continue to go up. So I took a look at our fees schedule. Guest passes were $4 if you did them online and $6 if you had it printed at the main gate public safety from 2016 to 2019. And then from 2020 to now, it went up a buck an inch. So if you compare that to some of the parks, some of the Michigan parks are charging anywhere from $8 to $10. I've seen some of the way up north, $5 per day pass. So we can take the allowance into consideration during the budgeting process, but our fees are pretty good. And they're lower than what we're seeing from the state parks. So Drew, you had a comment?
Yeah, just a clarification, you said $7 to print out at the ranger station. That extra fee is if you have a ranger do it for you.
Yes.
You call up.
Yep. Thank you for clarifying that. Yep, good.
It does take their time. It takes the time away from.
Yeah.
I do have a comment from phase 1 area. We were at the meeting where the wakeboard boats were not approved. We do have a waterfront site and the additional waves from those boats and the boats that go faster than the speed it's used for does do great harm to our boat. I was in the water working on my boat when a wakeboard went by, and I had all I could do to keep from smashing my boat into the seawall. The nose of our boat has been greatly damaged from these waves. I for sure feel that these boats do not belong on our small lake, and the boats need to go on a safer speed. The depth of the lake and erosion is a big factor. And if any vote comes about this, I vote no for these votes. So again, thank you for the comment. We're going through that process still with the Lake Committee. Right now, the ballast is, the current rule says ballast usage only. That's still in enforce. You can't do it until we get a vote next month from the board on a recommendation. Boat stake fees, $110. What is driving the major increase on this, and major increase on non-motorized items, i.e. kayaks? If the lake needs, if the park needs more money to service the lake, should this be an assessment? So we talked about this last year during the budgeting process. I own 2 kayaks. I went from $15 to $35 as well per kayak. We are, again, we talked about this at the board meeting last night. Operational costs have gone up. We've seen that in the financials that Kimberly read last night. We're still waiting on permits for 2 new wells. State of Michigan is kind of holding on those right now. We don't have a green light to go. If we kick off those, we're not going to see new wells until probably the end of this, based on the timing. So there's some other things that were earmarked, some riprap, things of that nature that we want to try and do. Again, wells will be capital, but then the electricity to run those wells are going to go up. That's what a lot of the boat state fees are for, and your increased sticker costs are to offset some of those operational costs, not capital. So we're still working on some of those items. Good question. Last one, what is Sandy Pines doing to restrict non-members from walking into the park? And I seen golf carts that I didn't recognize. We put license plates on golf carts. Those golf carts kind of disappeared. We do see people still dropping people off at right by the shrubs and walking in. I know PSO is still patrolling that area. We are catching those people and we are asking them to leave. We continue to try and get better at that. We're not going to catch everybody. So that's all I have. That's all the questions that were submitted. Larry, you got any comments on your end?
No, I'm good.
All right. Thanks for coming in. Grab a cookie and coffee before you leave. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for attending, Larry.
Yep, you're welcome. Thanks for
Have a good one.
inviting.
No problem. We'll see you.